Our dear Heavenly Father, in this evening we thank you for the opportunity to study in BYU. We thank you the opportunity to have this wonderful technology to have this meeting. In this evening we ask you to bless us with the Holy Ghost, with the correct inspiration, to have the good ideas, the best comments, and to have a good meeting. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, about this case, it's really interesting. I really liked it. So, as we have been discussing through all these weeks, I would like to start with like making a summary or like a synopsis. Does someone wants to like explain what is really going on in this case? Bonnie?
I don't feel like I know what's going on, but I'll give a shot at it. So basically, Barbara just took over the job, and the GSU has really bad culture. Nobody's happy, and they just have a lot of complaints. And so now her challenge is trying to make them happy.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you for that. Any other comment? Hi, KJ.
Hey, I am so sorry I'm late. What was the question?
We are discussing about the case. We are starting with the summary, like introduction. Like Bonnie was mentioning that the culture was not too good, and that Barbara like realized that a lot of problems were going on at that moment. Would you like to add like something else about the case?
Yeah. Well, sorry, you kind of cut off a little bit in the beginning. So, what? I mean, yeah, like I would love to contribute, but like, I just want to know what the question was specifically.
Yeah. What is really going on in the case?
Oh. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So, from what I remember, I mean, most of the questions were based on, whether the new nurse, I forgot her name, but the new manager was a good manager in her first month. And like, I mean, I just remember that there was a lady who spoke out on the what was it? It wasn't a retreat. It was like a fireside or something, or when they got together and they were speaking about how they can improve the workplace and everything, an outing. So one lady spoke in the outing saying that she didn't feel welcome at the job place because although people were giving her answers to her questions, behind her back they were saying, inappropriate things about her, or not inappropriate things, but just not nice things. And so she felt as if she couldn't trust her team because, I mean, I would feel the same way. I mean, if somebody tells me something, that gives me an answer to my face, but then goes behind my back and starts saying bad things about me, I wouldn't appreciate that.
Right.
So that's one of the things that stood out to me from the case, because as long as we have a team that can contribute together, be respectful towards one another, and actually genuinely care about one another and not just fake it. I mean, I feel like that's a good team.
Right, exactly. and guys, what do you think about Barbara? Like, was she like a good manager or not?
I think she's doing good so far because she's trying to get everybody's input.
Yeah, Barbara was a new manager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think she's doing good for her first month, especially with trying to change all the negativity, I guess, comments that she had received from her mentor and from other people about her new role. I think she's doing a tremendous job.
Right. Do you think that she was like the best choice for the position?
Well, we didn't have any, information about the other choices. But I think because she actually already worked there for 4 years, even though it was in a different department. I think she did know enough. I think that she was, and she wasn't going into it blindly. She was told the issues. She was explained how things were and everything, and so she knew. I mean, she probably didn't know exactly what she was getting into, but she did know enough that, and she also, the people that hired her knew her well, and they basically said, good luck, and you need to turn this around quickly. And so there wasn't any really question that there was problems. And so I think that because she knew exactly what she was, that she was a good choice, because she went into it with her eyes open saying, okay, I'm going to implement these things that I learned from my manager, and we're going to, get a good head start.
Right.
Yeah, and something I want to add something. She's ready with knowledge because I think in the reading say that she studied for to be a management or something like that. But she's lack of experience, and with the team or the situation of the hospital, it's a huge problem for her.
Right. Something that I liked most about this case is that she had a lot of activities when something like this happened. Like in the case, we read that she was meeting them, joining with them, trying to ask some questions and make sure what was really going on. Have you ever been in that type of position? And if so, what are the things that you've done in order to like get information and see what you could do to improve?
Well, I think in this case that, like you said already, Neffy, that from the get-go, she was saying, so it said that she had like 29 one-on-ones in the first month. I mean, most of it was complaining about other people, but she was willing to take the time to sit down with each one of them. And then when she did the offsite, she opened it up and said, I want to know. And so they had to have felt like she cared. They had to have felt like that she did want to make changes. She wanted to help.
Right. In past like lessons or conversations, you mentioned that you have been a manager, right?
I am a manager right now.
Oh, okay, great. Have you had these type of situations in your area?
Well, I am over 7 people, and I definitely go to them, and I'm very respectful. I have a lot of one-on-ones. I very much ask for input. I compliment. I tell people that I appreciate their hard work. We've actually just hired a new manager over our shipping department, and him and I spend a lot of time discussing how we can make things better. And I kind of have given him a lot of rope a lot of free rein to make things better. So, for instance, the inventory system that we had in place before, which was there when I got there, but it wasn't really my responsibility to do anything about. But when we hired him, we were like, we want you to make this better. And I just feel like that my encouragement and my reward, in the sense that I'm constantly telling him what a good job he's doing, and I'm praising him, and I bring attention to him in the meetings to the boss how well he's doing. I just think that it's encouraging him to, and that he's being recognized for the effort that he's putting in. And
that's awesome.
And then I have an assistant. So I'm the office and HR manager, and then I have an assistant manager that's just below me, and we work, together every single day. And I try to make sure that that I help him when he's falling behind, or that you know, that I make sure he understands how much I appreciate his help. And so I just try to lift and encourage.
Right, that's awesome. Thank you for your comments. Something that I read on the case is that in her like prior department, she had a good relationship with the group, and you know, all of them were working together, were doing things together, and now that she is, you know, facing this situation, it mentions that she felt frustrated, tired, and overwhelmed. So my question is, how would you overcome these type of situations if you were in those? What do you think, guys?
I think the first thing we need to do is establish a common goal. In the case
Mm-hmm.
of Barbara, she needs to, I don't know, the group of RNs and the PCAs. I think is the name of the groups. Have a meeting with the leaders or something like that, and have a common goal, like a team, because they have different objectives, they have different things about the work that they need to do, and I think it's the main problem. Huh?
Right. Thank you. What do you think, AJ?
I think the same thing. I mean, like, well, it is specifically even said. I mean, one of the nurses or the staff members had mentioned that know how the annual salary part worked, like the increase, like it was like a mystery to them. So they need to make sure that their staff actually knows what the goals are. I mean, if they don't know what the goals are, they won't know what areas they need to improve in, how they can perform better, and they just won't have I guess like a guidance as to what their goal is supposed to be. Because I mean, right now there are people that feel that the focus more on the administrative side, and then there are other groups that feel that the focus is on the patient side. So they need to be more clear about what needs to happen.
Right. Thank you for that. Something that caught my attention was that in page number 3, she definitely realized that not all the employees were, you know, doing bad things. So she was recognizing that Megan, for example, or Jennifer, they were good enough in order to, you know, to start like participating and making the numbers grow. Have you like ever had that type of attitude when you experience these type of situations? Like, because sometimes when we have, you know, with these type of situations, we just focus on bad or negative like things. Have you had these type of experiences where, you know, you change your mind and start thinking in a different way? Bunny?
I'm trying to think of a time when I did that. I think so, but I do know that, yeah, the power of thought is very effective in situations like that. When you try to think of it from a different perspective, it can really change actually how you feel about it.
Oh, that's cool. Anyone else?
So one of the things that I focused on a lot in my write-up was that she needs to implement a mentoring program. So
Right.
one of the things they discussed was that some of the older nurses that have been there a long time were really resistant to change. They did not want things to be any different. And part of the problem, I think a big part of the problem, because my husband and I both worked at retirement centers before, and a huge part of the problem was some of the nurses, the RNs, would get set in their ways and really kind of have an attitude of that they know better and they know, you know, what's best, and that they needed to, that, you know, they just don't like change, and they don't like the new people, and they kind of they have these cliques and everything. Well, what I said in mine as the advisor coming in is that she needed to implement a mentoring program where the older ladies or the more experienced ladies had to be responsible for a new lady, and that the bonus or reward system was based on both of their performance together. And so I felt like that would help with teamwork, and that they wouldn't be out, only out for themselves. They would be out for the whole. And because KG brought up, was that there was no structure in place for any kind of assessment reviews or raises or anything. There wasn't any kind of structure in place. And so if they brought in a structure of mentoring, and then they were rewarded or compensated, and I know that the money was a big issue because they were in a recession, but she could find other ways to reward if they worked together, and if the more experienced nurses were to take the new people under their wing. I really think that would have had more camaraderie, and that there wouldn't be cliques of the experienced against the new. And just like the one where you already mentioned, that she didn't feel like she was welcome, she didn't feel like that she belonged, and they would get together and talk behind her back. If one of those more experienced people were actually, taking her under their arm and helping her, and her success meant their success, some of that would go away.
Right. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Now, in the last part, in page number 4, we see some questions. I would like to discuss about that as well. It says Barbara knew she had to set realistic, attainable goals for each item on the list. And now the questions are, could she talk to her director of nurses and seek a reprieve from the hiring freeze and get more staff for GSU? What do you think? Do you think that would be like something that she could do to start fixing the problems she was facing?
Wait, like get more people, you said?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be good if you would let her do that.
Yeah.
Well, they said that just in that first month they'd lost like 6 people.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
overworked, which causes a lot of stress to begin with.
yeah, if they have such a high employee turnover rate, they definitely need to be able to hire more people.
Right. And what would you do? Because in the case says that economy was not good enough. So what would you do in those cases when, for example, your budget is not enough to cover, and as Easter mentioned, you have a lot of stress and a lot of work to do?
Well, one of the suggestions in the case was to hire somebody at a much lower hourly rate, like a secretary, to help with the bookkeeping part of it. And that would, because a lot of nurses feel like that they spend more time behind the desk than they do with the patients because there's so much paperwork. And so I think that would obviously be definitely of some help.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that.
Other idea, it's about an experience I had. Well, my wife had the experience. She's a nurse. So 2 years ago, she was working in a hospital, but the hospital were lack of budget, similar like this situation. So to face with this problem, they offer extra money to the nurses who work harder in the same time. So they haven't hired other nurses, and they complete the job with this extra bonus. So the nurses were working very hard. Some of the nurses that weren't working start working in that moment. So I think some of the problems too are that some nurses are not working in the correct way. So maybe Barbara can check if they are working correctly or no, and maybe offer like an extra bonus, something like that.
So, do you think that an action plan would be perfect in these situations?
For sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What type of uh, things or action plans would you set up?
Well, one of the things that I felt like was the morale is really low. And so if they were to do like quarterly activities or get-togethers, or because they really need to care about each other. And really, if you start getting together outside of work and meet each other's families, and you definitely see them in a different light, and it just makes you care about the person more. And I just felt like if you're not under the stress that you are at work, I think that you can allow yourself to care more. And so that's one of the things that I said that they should implement is family family get-togethers and the offsite for the managers and stuff, and spend a little bit of time together outside of work.
That would be something great. Thank you.
Well, I think
Also,
if they're sorry, I think if if it's just you can come if you want. I think that at first they just wouldn't come because they're just not any kind of relationships or anything. But I think if the offsites are mandatory at first with the managers, and it starts to break down some walls, but then when they do the family activities, they'll more likely be willing to come and try.
Hey guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Hi.
my battery might.
I think his battery died.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
Sorry for
let's continue. I just have two more questions. One is related to page number 3. It says that she realized that a lot of people like did not feel satisfied because of favoritism, dissatisfaction with staffing levels, and performance review. So in this what Enrique mentioned that a rework could be something that Barbara could take in consideration. But what do you think in these circumstances? Because it seems to be, or the people like did not feel like recognized of their job. Do you think that like having a list, or because she already had one-on-ones and she already realized the people that were working and were not working, do you think that Barbara could like select like people and start like assigning, like for example, some like positions or stuff like that, or not yet? Like for example, just for example, for Megan, she was brilliant in specific areas. Do you think that it is a time to recognize her and say, Megan, you have done this job and I want you to be in this area?
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think one of the things missing was recognition. So maybe saying something like that would be good.
Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, one of the things I said was that because when you talked about the favoritism, where they really felt like that the favorite people got the better assignments and the other people got the crap jobs or whatever. What I said was that they needed to have, that Barbara needed to come up with an assignment chart, and that everybody had to rotate through it equally. And so even managers or the higher ups or the hierarchy, just everybody, even Barbara maybe needed to take turns, with certain things, so that they really felt like that the top people cared and that it didn't just give them the jump jobs. And of course, there is the RNs are above the BSN. There are, then you have the CNAs, and you have, so there is kind of a hierarchy, but I do think that there's some things that everybody can take part in, which will not make them feel like grunts so much. It'll make them feel more like equals. And then, like you said, if they get a structure like that in place, and then they start catching people doing well or going above and beyond, then rewarding and recognizing and you can have a system in place that, like I said, catching them going above and beyond. I was at a job once where that's the phrase they used, and if they would go around and catch you doing something above and beyond, and you would be rewarded and you'd be recognized and so it made you want to get caught doing better, so there's definitely ways that they could get more structured and then reward and recognize. And it doesn't have to be money, because the money was such a tight issue that I think that the manager before probably just felt like her hands were tied, where she couldn't really reward or compensate because there wasn't money. But there's so many other things you can do just to make someone feel like they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you for that. So basically, rewards and recognizing their job will be the better option, right? Because I think, in my opinion, that if she does select people or recognize them to have a specific position, she would incur on favoritism, and some people will feel jealous, or if she's trying or pretending to select specific people for her staff. So in my opinion,
but what she could do is she could put something out and say that everybody is eligible for this position,
right?
And these are the things that you have to do to earn this position.
Right. I was going to mention that.
Wanted to earn it could do those things or take tests or whatever they had to do, but give everybody the opportunity to try. And those that work extra hard anyway are going to, they're going to be recognized because of their hard work. They're going to earn that position.
Right.
And then it isn't showing favoritism. Everybody had the opportunity, but she just earned it. I don't know. That's just a thought.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Do you have any other comment or anything else that you would like to add, guys? Nope.
No, I think that was a really good discussion. I can't think of anything else that I would want to add to that. I just kind of feel bad for the lady because it sounds like a hard job.
Right, exactly. Something that I really liked about this case is we face these problems in a daily basis. And Barbara is a great example of trying to understand what we can feel being in these type of positions. People outside, they just want their own benefits. They just want to feel rewarded and feel fine in their specific positions. And being a leader is a huge responsibility. And as we have learned in this lesson, motivation, organizational change is something that allowed me to understand that definitely a great leader is that one that at the first time shares positive motivation. Because if Barbara arrived in a negative position, she wouldn't realize and start making this type of changes. And I think that sometimes we have these type of challenges that with these type of situations, we can grow and like learn how to be better leaders, and that'll be applied in all the cases or circumstances in our life. And something that I want to mention to you as well is in the case we have four drive theory. That's gonna be by Lawrence, and I would like to read those. It says the drive to acquire. Humans have a fundamental need to seek and acquire objects and experiences they value. Given the general scarcity of desired objects and experiences, this drive draws humans into competition with one another. Then the drive to bond. Humans have a fundamental emotional need to seek and develop mutual social commitments. This drive draws humans into collaboration with one another. Then the third one, the drive to comprehend. Humans have a fundamental emotional need to develop understandings of their environments and themselves. This drive draws humans into collecting information, building new knowledge, exploring new possibilities, and finding meaning in their activities in life. Then the last one, the drive to defend. Humans have a fundamental emotional drive to defend our accomplishments in fulfilling our other three drives. When such accomplishments are threatened, humans experience fear or anger and respond by flight or fight. So the last question is, how well does GSU's performance management system fulfill the drive to depend on and defend?
What was the question again?
How well does GSU's performance management system fulfill the drive to depend and defend? Based on the four drive theory, what do you think? Do you think that was a good performance management system that Betty was having in the past?
No.
Why not?
Well, it kind of seems like since they had so many problems, they weren't, they really weren't hitting any of those. Right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. So,
one of the
these
things
areas...
Neffy, one of the things I wanted to mention is that I feel like the reason that Barbara even felt like that she could take something on this big and scary and such a huge challenge is because she came from a good example. Her mentor and her manager was doing it right, and she was treating people with respect, and so I really feel like that as we learn from others, as we mentor people, I just feel like that the reason that she felt like that she could even handle it is because of the example that she was given herself. And I just think that's something, I think that right there is a drive in and of itself, that we have a drive to improve and to do better, and when we have good examples that are doing it the way it should be done, and they're respecting and they're caring and that it gives us that opportunity to turn around and do it ourselves.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you. Any other comment, guys? Okay, if you don't have...
Oh, I was just going to say, I really actually enjoyed learning about the four drives that you just went over. And I just thought that was really interesting. But other than that, no.
Yeah, pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
Right, perfect. So we're about to finish. I just want to make a conclusion about the action plans and things that we can apply in our life. So we have learned that being in a leadership and in this type of situations, sometimes we need to do what Barbara did, like make an overview, um, start like searching or realize what's going on in our area. Then after that, we had to start like making a list of items that must affect us and affect the group. That way we can start like setting up goals, as Enrique mentioned. Then, as Easter mentioned, um, sometimes it's better to be a leader instead of a manager, and rewarding and helping others understand that they are valuable also help us out, like having a positive environment. What else would you like to add, guys?
I think that when we pull our own, then we can be part of the team. I think that when we're a good example and when we're trying our hardest, no matter what position we hold, that we can help and lift and build others as well.
Right. Thank you for that. Any other comment?
Yeah, I think we are studying this since the beginning. We need to seek or to find the balance first in ourselves and then in our team. Like leaders, we need to find the correct balance in the team. We know our team have different skills, different what's the name? Well, different problems. But with the correct balance, we can get the goals and we can have a great team. We are not going to be perfect, but we can manage our problems and our skill in a way that we could be almost perfect.
Right. Thank you, Enrique. Um, okay, guys. My desire for you is that we can always be better in our jobs, and so that we can apply these lessons in our personal lives. I know that we have been learning through different like cases and lessons, but it, in my personal opinion, it has helped me out a lot. Like remember and understand things that I need to change in my personal life. So I hope that you can also do that, that we can apply these principles in our leadership and also in the church. That way we can be great examples in society and also in our country.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great. Yeah, that's it. I don't know if we have any other question or who the next little bit will be.
Who's next on the list? Who's gonna go next?
I am not sure. Where was the list? Was it in an email?
Yeah, but I think I might have just sent it to the teacher. I don't know if I thought I included you guys, but maybe I didn't. But
According to the list, it's KG the next.
yeah, that's what I thought. Can you do it next time, KG? Oh, is he gone? He's gone.
He's good.
Whoops.
Let's see. It looks like, okay, so I found the list. It looks like it was supposed to be Rebecca's turn today.
Oh, okay.
But technically I'm supposed to be the next one, so I can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot the order that we decided.
Well, I think Rebecca did too, so.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stop recording.